Afternoon, everyone. Meteorologist Bill Rentschler alongside Chief Meteorologist Ken Shimmick in the 1011 Now streaming studio. Yesterday, Ken, at this time, we were looking up when the last time Lincoln hit 70 degrees, which we discovered was early November of last year.
November 9th, it was 78.
And today, it feels like, I think, teens outside right now. North winds gusting 40 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Had bursts of heavy snow, rain this morning. It is a raw March afternoon. We've talked ad nauseum about the fight between spring and winter, and
Absolutely
winter
right.
has TKO'd spring today.
Yes, 24-hour knockout, and so a huge difference. But we don't want to bury the lead here, Bill. We want to make sure that everybody knows that Furman beat Virginia.
Yeah, that's right.
And that was it's a huge upset.
And if you're playing along in the 10-11 bracket, you will see that I picked Furman.
He gave me $5 to throw that out early in this cut-in.
2-0 to start my day.
He's the leader. He's the leader in the clubhouse.
That's right.
Hey, you measured about an inch of snow here at the 1011 studios. We would consider 40th and W Midtown Lincoln, so we'll wait to see what the airport comes up with. But it was coming down pretty good. When I came into work around 12:30 today, we were, visibility officially was a half a mile, but believe me, when I was coming into work, it was like about 2 blocks. So the wind and the snow was creating some havoc. Now we're still seeing at least some very light snow. That's going to continue to be the case. But obviously, this is exactly or pretty close to what we expected to have happen today. We had rain this morning, and then we knew it would transition over to snow as the cold front moved through. So as the north and northwest winds increased to 25, 35, up to 40 miles an hour in the Lincoln area, the changeover from rainfall to snowfall came pretty quickly. And as you mentioned, was coming down pretty good for a while.
Yeah, this is a video that reporter Ryan Valenta shot earlier today. And I would just like to point out, I would like to pat ourselves on the back a little bit.
Don't do that, Bill.
I don't have any wood to knock on over here. But like you said, the forecast played out, I think, pretty well with that rain in the morning and the transition. I was sitting here. One of the nice things about my streaming studio setup is I have a window.
Yep.
And so I could see that changeover happening around 11 o'clock or so. And certainly by the noon hour when I went out to grab lunch, it was kind of a grapple, sleet.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, the burst of heavy snow.
And it was snow. And so the timing was pretty good.
Yep.
As far as what the forecast called for. I don't know if a lot of areas are going to end up in that 3 to 6 inch range, even in snowfall, even in northeastern Nebraska, where we thought central into northeastern Nebraska had the best chance at seeing some more significant snows. We're going to wait and see what kind of snowfall totals come in. But one of the things I think that's helped on this situation, Bill, is the moisture content has been relatively high with a lot of this snow. And so the blowing and drifting hasn't been quite as bad as it is with that real light, fluffy stuff, at least at this point. Now, have we had reduced visibilities? And we mentioned at one time, Lincoln, the metro area was probably down to a couple of blocks there when the snow was coming down at its heaviest. And there were other areas of the state that had to deal and still are dealing with some reduced visibilities. And we'll look at that visibility map here in just a little bit. But I think when you factor in that we've had 30, 40, nearly 50 mile per hour winds, conditions could have been a lot worse. We still want folks to be careful out there. Even as the snow starts to wind down, the winds are going to continue to be an issue. And so that's continue to blow around a little bit, whatever snow we've got.
And temperatures will continue to fall. So the wet streets, the melting snow we've seen, that's all going to freeze as we head through this evening. So anything untreated, sidewalks, parking lots, anything elevated, it will likely become pretty slick as we head through the night.
And that's a great point to be making, because it might not be snowing when you leave work today and are headed home, but because we've had so much moisture, either in the form of rain earlier or that snow that's now beginning to melt, because we're still hovering around or just above that 32-degree mark here in the capital city. As temperatures continue to fall, we could see some of that turning into black ice where it's not extremely obvious. So again, folks have been very cautious in Lincoln with that slushy snow that fell earlier in the afternoon. We urge you to continue to be very cautious with your travel late this afternoon.
So we got a lot on the screen for you now. Again, we have a looping radar again with the precipitation depiction. So again, still have some areas of snow drifting through Lincoln, Lancaster County, and southeastern Nebraska. Again, you can see the pink down towards Falls City. That's again that mixed precipitation, and still maybe near Nebraska City, maybe trying to hang on to maybe a little bit of liquid rain, but likely seeing some mixed precip there as well. So again, that'll be looping there in the corner for you as we run through some of the graphics. But you can see Lincoln traffic cameras, roads again today, main roads in Lincoln. have held up fairly well. There was a brief period with the bursts of heavy snow. We saw some light accumulations, but again, most of it's melted. Roads are wet. Again, I would think main arterials will probably be decent tonight, but again, those side streets, neighborhood streets, they could certainly see that black ice like you were just mentioning.
And they were definitely, some of the roadways were slushy, even though it wasn't slick or didn't appear to be slick. As long as you were traveling about 5 or 10 miles underneath the speed limit, you were in pretty good shape. The reduced visibility was almost a bigger issue, but there's certainly, at the period where the snow was coming down heaviest, probably between about 12:30 and 1:30, the roadways, some roadways, even some of the main arterials in Lincoln were getting slushy. And so again, that's enough to create some issues if you're not giving a little extra space to the car in front of you and slowing down just a little bit. So that's what we would continue to urge folks how to handle that this afternoon.
So here's a look at our Skyview cameras. Again, our Beaver Crossing camera's still down. We're still working on that. But again, precipitation for most of our Skyview locations has kind of wrapped up. Again, when I was on here at 7:30 this morning, O'Neill, again, I remarked yesterday they'd melted all their snow.
You could finally see the ground.
Yeah, but now, again, the snow is back on the ground, and it was whiteout conditions this morning. So, again, conditions have improved dramatically over the past several hours. Again, kind of from west to east. Things here in Lincoln, again, likely going to get a little bit better as the afternoon wears on in terms of seeing some breaks in the clouds.
And the additional information, like you're absolutely right, Bill. The additional information you get there is not only has the snow ended, but you're starting to see some blue sky. So we're going to see clearing skies, and that's going to be a trend that we'll even see here in the capital city. The great part of this weather system, even though it brought in dramatic changes, progressive, extremely progressive. It's going to move and march right through here.
It's got places to go and things to do.
Absolutely. So going to watch some NCAA basketball, so it's on its way.
So there's a view from the Lincoln Skyview. Again, our time lapse today. In fact, I'm going to start it over here so we can play through it again. But at 11, again, kind of gray, drizzly, a little bit of rain. But really quickly, we saw that change over to a wintry mix, and then the snow hit a little afternoon, and visibility went, again, Ken, like you said, down to a few blocks. But in the past hour or so, again, things have improved quite a bit. And hopefully, again, here we'll see some blue sky eventually here in the next few hours.
Well, and again, as you mentioned, the radar, you can even see on the radar that's on the folks' screen right there, too, that to the north and west of Lincoln, we could still see a little bit of precipitation moving through, but it's not nearly as significant as what we were dealing with early this afternoon. So the trend is going to continue to be maybe some leftover, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, mainly some light snow, but the most significant snow has fallen and is moving away from the capital city.
So if you look at observed precipitation today, this is rainfall this morning plus the liquid equivalent of any melted snow. And like you mentioned, 0.2 of an inch. Yesterday we had kind of set it maybe around 1/4 to 1/2.
Right.
So a little bit on the lower end, but still some decent moisture. Again, drought monitor came out today. 99.5% of the state still under drought. So we'll take whatever moisture we can get. 2100s in Lincoln, 2300s in Omaha. I can look at my phone really quickly, and I had at my house today 2200s as well.
Okay, so it fits right into the narrative there, about 1/4 of an inch or so here in the capital city. And maybe this is one of the areas that was lucky enough to pick up a little more than a lot of spots did. And again, that kind of moisture is not enough to get you out of a drought. But if we can keep doing this, a couple of times a week, not necessarily the snow, but keep getting the moisture in here as we move forward through the back half of March, that would really be welcome news.
It would go a long way. Road conditions, again, have improved dramatically across north central, northeastern Nebraska. We saw a lot more pink on there earlier this afternoon. Again, kind of hit and miss as you go across the state. A lot of wet roads that, again, we are concerned could have some black ice. Partially to completely covered roads kind of scattered out here and there. Looks like the worst conditions right now might be up north of Norfolk into far northeastern Nebraska, and then maybe a few spots kind of in south central and southeastern Nebraska as well.
And obviously the green means no major issues, but we want folks to be careful out there. There's no reason now. The worst or the most significant snow has ended, at least here in the Lincoln metro areas to our east and southeast. Probably still could be looking at some snowfall accumulation, but we want folks to be careful out there, even if their area isn't necessarily in the partially covered or completely covered. But there are enough of those areas, especially in north central, northeastern Nebraska. And then you can see a little bit of an area south and east of the Tri-Cities where the conditions are a little bit tougher as well. So.
And the good news also is we saw a lot more on this map not long ago, but winter weather advisories and winter storm warnings that were out have all been canceled early. So Dakota.
Why don't you repeat that? Let's go through that one more time.
All advisories and all warnings have been canceled, save for Dakota and Dixon counties in far northeastern Nebraska, where we just talked about, where they still have the completely covered roads. So again, that is good news. Again, should see in terms of falling precipitation, improving conditions through the next several hours. Well, still going to be cold, still going to be windy, but you won't have snow hitting you in the face at 50 miles an hour.
And the early indications for these winter weather alerts in western and central Nebraska, they were going to run until 7 p.m. tonight. Yeah. And for a lot of northeastern and east central Nebraska, it was until 1 a.m. tomorrow morning. So you talk about a dramatic change, at least in the expectations now. The Weather Service has canceled all but Dakota and Dixon, as you mentioned, in the northeastern part of the state.
So if we go through some of the current conditions, again, just a little past 2 o'clock, again, things improving, but still have areas of snow falling as well as rain, mixed precip. And again, those areas that have reduced visibility, those are the areas that we're seeing some of that precipitation falling right now. So the Omaha Metro is down to 1 mile, Hebron down to 1 mile, 4 miles in Beatrice, Nebraska City, 4 miles in Wayne, 4 miles in O'Neill. So again, it's kind of here and there, but again, overall, this map looked a lot busier an hour or two ago.
Well, and at the worst here in Lincoln, we were at a half mile or less visibility, and now we're at 8 miles. So that should tell you right there the improvement that we're seeing. So again, that's all good news.
Temperatures have, again, about this time yesterday.
Why do you keep bringing that up? You're trying to make people feel bad?
Yeah,
because it's working.
I feel bad.
I feel terrible right now.
I know. Meteorologist Brandon Rector likes to say that we're having a half-off sale today on our temperatures because they're about half of what they were yesterday when most of us were in the 60s and 70s. So it's low to mid-30s across the state. Probably going to hover here maybe the next few hours.
Right.
But then these will begin to drop off tonight as the sun goes down, and expecting
and sky's clear.
And sky's clear, and some chilly nights. Not just tonight, but Saturday morning, Sunday morning. It's going to be cold.
A couple of times this week I mentioned January-like weather returns for Friday, Saturday, Sunday, because those morning temperatures are going to be in the single digits and teens. We could start Saturday morning with sub-zero wind chills, and we're past now the middle of March. So when you're dealing with that kind of when you're dealing with those kind of numbers, that's not necessarily a good thing. That does not mean that spring is just around the corner, although astronomical spring is just around the corner.
It is. So these numbers, again, 30 or so degrees colder than what we had yesterday when we had temperatures in the 60s and 70s across the state. Wind has also been a big issue today, sustained out of the northwest, about 15 to maybe 35 miles an hour, with those winds gusting again between 35, 45 up to around 50 miles an hour. These are going to continue through this afternoon, so the wind is likely the biggest impact moving forward over the next several hours.
Well, and the good news is, as we just showed you on the current temps, we're still in the upper 20s and lower 30s in a lot of locations. So winds like this, while it does make it feel a lot colder, we're talking about mid-teens to low 20s, it could be a lot worse. And as these temperatures drop, we do expect those winds to start to come down a little bit as well. So that's going to help. But as you mentioned, we're probably looking at more of an issue from cold temperatures as we head into tonight, wind and cold, than we are any additional precip.
So here's a look at the statewide satellite and radar picture. Again, you can see some of the clearing across parts of northern, western Nebraska. And again, if we zoom in on Lincoln and southeastern Nebraska, still some of the light to maybe moderate snow kind of hanging around. But again, all of this is continuing to track to the east and kind of fizzling out a little bit, kind of from northeast to southwest. So likely going to see snow come to an end. I mean, you look outside, it doesn't even look like it's snowing right now, at least on the ground, but on the radar.
Huge difference.
You know, this is going to come to an end over the next hour or so.
And again, the important thing here, as you've got this looping, Bill, and the other radar that you've got on the screen looping, is it looks like the general movement of the precipitation is almost due east as much as it is to the northeast. So that's why we think that while Lincoln could still see some periodic light snow moving in, any additional significant accumulation looks like it's going to be from south of Omaha to east and south of the Lincoln metro area. And so certainly places like Gage County and Saline County and Jefferson County could end up with some additional snowfall accumulations, and then eventually that's going to move into Johnson and Nemaha and Richardson counties in southeastern Nebraska, maybe even Cass and Odo picking up some additional accumulations. But as far as the Lincoln Metro is concerned, while some additional light snow possible, we really don't think we're going to see that much more in accumulation.
Nope. And so if we run it through SkyCast again, I have to tip my hat to our in-house model. I think it has really performed very well today, doing an excellent job advertising real-world conditions. This is 3 o'clock, again, about 30 minutes from now, and again, I think it's bang on what the radar is going to look like. And if you move it forward in time by 4, again, things really continue to slide off to the east. By this evening, by 8, 9, 10 o'clock, all that moisture is out of the area, and skies clear out pretty quickly. And again, the wind will decrease a little bit, but clearing skies, temperatures will fall off pretty quickly. Factor in that breeze, it's going to get even
especially
colder.
with a fresh coat of snow on the ground in,
Yes.
in a lot of places. Even if it wasn't heavy snow, in a lot of locations, that's going to impact your temperatures, your overnight temperatures as well. So be ready for a blustery and chilly evening ahead.
And you'll have information, not great information.
Thank you.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate
Yeah,
that.
I know, just something for people to look forward to. On a chilly and somewhat breezy Friday, Saturday,
Yes.
Sunday. You mentioned spring's right around the corner. A little warmer next week, but still below normal for this time of year.
Well, I think we get back into the 40s and 50s. We've got some additional precipitation chances, and I guess if the moisture comes through during the second half or the overnight periods during those days, we could be looking at rain or snow, but at least it's going to feel a lot more like spring. If we can keep temperatures in the 40s and lower to mid 50s for next week, I think that's going to make a big difference for folks. They're just wondering when we can stick a pin in this winter and be done, and we're just not quite sure yet.
Let's see. I'm gonna try and look it up. I think our average last snow is sometime in April.
The average last snow.
Average last snow in Lincoln. So
And we average, and we did this at the beginning of the month, we average like 3.5 inches of snow in March.
in March, 1
And
inch
now
in
if
April.
we'll wait and see what the airport reports, but, we ended up with 7/10 of an inch earlier in the month. Now we pick up an inch today or something close to that. If, maybe the airport comes in with 1.5 inches. We don't know.
It's actually March 27th.
March 27th is the average.
last snow in Lincoln. Last year it was March 10th. The year before it was February 21st. 2020 it was April 16th. 2018 it was April 15th. So again, it's generally March sometime. So
Monday is March 20th. So then that means on average a week from Monday, and we're going to hold you to this, that should be the end of the snowfall season. Winter.
we'll stick a pin in it, but we won't stick the pin all the way in. It'll be just loosely in there.
None of the hot air will be coming out, much like
the hot
me,
air,
if you
yeah,
stick
the
me
hot
with a
air
pin.
is-
That's right.
All right, so we'll have more details from Brandon Rector coming up at 4, tentatively at 4. Again,
Right.
basketball's on, so we may see the 4 o'clock show get pushed on start time, maybe eaten up altogether. You will be on
We'll
at
be
5.
on at 5, and then we're going to stream, I believe.
And so you'll be back
part of the
here
6 o'clock show.
at 6. I don't know if anyone's told you that yet, but you'll be back.
I'll be here?
You'll be here with me. We'll be doing this all over again at 6.
Well, I better get going.
All right, so I appreciate everyone for tuning in and following along with us. As always, keep it tuned to 1011 for all of your news, weather, and sports, both on air and online. Like I just said, we'll be back here in a couple hours for our 6 o'clock show, bringing you a weather update because, again, basketball is taking up to 6. And a quick mention, the 10 o'clock show is going to go on late tonight.
It will be on late because of basketball.
Because of basketball.
Basketball is going to affect a lot of things here over the next couple of weeks, which it always does.
Yes.
Timing. So, always check your local listings and know that if anything's going on, the Bill's going to be sitting right here, making sure that everybody at home knows what's going on, no matter whether newscasts are preempted or late or whatever. So, again, this has been a real advantageous thing. You're doing a great job. And it really helps our viewers, and that's what it's all about.
And
at
it's
the end of the
great
day.
because as soon as we shut all this down, it's going to turn into a basketball streaming.
I can't wait.
Yeah, right. So, all right. Appreciate everyone for tuning in and watching. Again, stay warm over the next few hours, next few days, really. But again, we'll see you again later today. And again, keep it tuned to 1011.
See you at 5 and 6.